Hi, I'm Diane Macias, and today we're going to find out if you are saving enough to retire. And the fact is, most Americans are not saving enough to retire. And we struggle with money because we're embarrassed to talk about it. We're told it's rude or unladylike to talk about money. And our employers don't want to pay us equally. So they tell us not to talk about your salaries. This isn't for our benefit. We're not taught in school or by our parents. We're not taught how to save or invest or even how to manage our money, and we're not encouraged to share our money tips and wins. And many of us have been told that we're bad with money or let your spouse deal with it. So we're living under this little gray cloud of financial anxiety, and not talking about money has hurt all of us. And because we're not taught how to manage our money and told not to talk about it, we're not taught how to use credit cards responsibly. We pay our bills late because we haven't taught that it affects our credit scores. And low credit scores affect our ability to rent or buy a house or a car. And even more than half Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency bill. And that leads us to use our credit cards more, and more than half of Americans are not saving enough to retire, which causes us to be a burden on our kids or other family members who are then not saving enough to retire. And it's this vicious cycle. And again, we all suffer from it. And those of us who had financial stability may have seen it crumble due to a death or an illness. More than 85% of bankruptcies are due to medical bills. And then divorce. So, this is the reason why each person needs to have a fully funded retirement account. 50% of a retirement account isn't enough for either person. And then, of course, there's other unforeseen events. So if any of this resonates with you, stick around. This is a safe place to learn without judgment or stigma or embarrassment. It's my job to show you how you can get yourself into a better financial situation so that you can sustain your best life. So let's get to the solution. Solving this is really as easy as pie. It's education. We just need to know what to do. And before this video is over, you will know what to do, what not to do by hearing 3 typical stories. And then we're going to actually calculate how much money you need to save to retire. And we'll talk about how much you need to save each month to get there. So let's meet our first lesson. This is Lucy. She's 40 years old and she has 2 young kids. Lucy was a software programmer and for 10 years contributed 6% of her paycheck to her company's 401k, because at that point her company would contribute an additional 3%, bringing her total to 9%. This is still less than the 15 to 20% that most financial advisors suggest that people save out of their paychecks. But she was still paying for her student loans, and this was the most she felt she could sacrifice. And many women, like Lucy, decided to take time off to raise her kids. And after her kids were just a little bit older and being back in the workforce for another 10 years, she saw that her parents would need her help. Her mom had a fairly debilitating chronic disease, and after her dad had a stroke, they moved in with her. And Lucy quickly realized that her parents needed her full attention, and she quit her job to care for them. So Lucy's story is a pretty common one. Women, as we all know, are paid less than men. And because we often take time off from work to care for children and then our parents, women take home about 85% less than men, which means we save less for retirement and we receive less Social Security. And in Lucy's case, she will have $1.5 million less than she would need to retire comfortably. If she had just contributed 3% more per year without a pause, she could have easily met her retirement savings goals. So, what lessons can we learn from Lucy? Well, she started contributing to her 401k as soon as she got her job. And she also took advantage of her company's matching policy. So, both of these made a big difference in the long run of her accounts. So, what could she have done better? If she had maxed out her contributions from the beginning and still stopped contributing to raise her kids and take care of her parents, she would have exceeded her savings goals. Or when she stopped working, she could have found another investment to contribute to. So if you're in this situation, let's talk. Okay, let's meet Michelle. So, Michelle is a 36-year-old super smarty pants. She graduated with a business degree and then started her own business straight out of school. So, being your own boss has a lot of perks, like making your own schedule, but it also means having to figure out your own retirement savings. And even in business school, she wasn't taught anything about that. And I was in this boat too, because for most of the time I worked for a company, I was a contractor. So, I didn't get to participate in my company's 401k. And I didn't know there was other options until I went to a Money 101 class. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So even if you aren't a business owner, Michelle's story has a lesson for you. Look at any four people. Chances are, for one reason or another, at least one of them has no retirement savings. So if you are one of the millions of Americans who hasn't thought much about retirement, you can change your situation now and it will make all the difference in the world. When we got married, my husband and I were contributing some token amount to my husband's 401k without any real understanding of what we would have at the end. And guess what? Like most of you, it wasn't nearly enough. So, luckily, like me, Michelle learned what she should do. She listened to her financial advisors and she didn't continue to procrastinate. However, it comes with a cost. By waiting just 10 years to start, she needs to invest double the monthly amount that she would if she had started at age 26. So if you're behind, putting this off just makes it worse and worse. So, fun fact, I've protected the identities of these ladies by giving them all names from Beatles songs. So, Rita was not a meter maid, she was a stay at home wife. So, quick statistic 90% of women will have sole control over their finances in their lives due to choice, divorce, or death. However, 70% of women don't know how to manage their finances. And this is why I do this. The majority of women live with a huge amount of financial anxiety, and we don't have to. Are you one of these women? Would you be if for some reason you lost your partner? So Rita's in the 90%, as will most women. At the age of 68, after a long marriage, Rita and her husband decided to go their separate ways. She did get half of his retirement, but again, 50% of a plan just isn't enough for anyone. It may or may not surprise you that women make up the largest percentage of people living in poverty, with the biggest numbers being 18 to 24-year-olds, so young single moms, and then women like Rita who are over 60, with the average age of widowhood being just 59 years old. So, to make matters worse, when Rita was married, she and her husband borrowed from his 401k to put a down payment on a house. And it turns out 44% of Americans have taken money out of a retirement plan. They had planned to pay it back within the required 5 years, but life happened and they weren't able to come up with the money. So they were hit with a 10% penalty that they had to pay to the IRS. So even the money that they had saved took a large hit before they were retired. And again, if you had done this, don't beat yourself up about it. Not knowing a different way is not your fault. As a whole, Americans know very, very little about how to build and keep wealth. So Rita, while not an unusual situation, is our biggest cautionary tale of the day. So men, if you are watching this, make sure you support your women in your life and encourage them to fully fund their own retirement accounts. Relying on a working spouse or partner is not sufficient. And if you stay together, you'll have that much more. So, when I was getting my coaching certification, we were told that it's not uncommon for elderly women to have to eat cat food because it's cheaper than people food. And this isn't an isolated incident, it happens a lot. So, women, pat yourself on the back for educating yourself. So, like these three women, many Americans don't know any better. So, take these stories to heart. It turns out that retired Americans 65 and older have an average income of just $38,515 per year. So, how much do you make? Since this is the average, many people are living on much, much less. In fact, most people will have a monthly income of less than $1,000 per month. Would you be able to live on that? Okay, well, you might be thinking you're going to get Social Security. Well, right now it's only guaranteed to be fully funded through the year 2035, and that's not that far away. I'll only be 57. So after that, it may only be 75% funded. And that means that people who are already taking money may see a drop in their payments, and new retirees may have trouble getting any money at all. So don't count on it. 35 out of 100 people end up going back to work after retiring because they realize they need more money. So I don't want you to have to start working again unless you're bored. Okay, so let's see. How much do you need to retire? I'm going to tell you. But first, here are some numbers that I keep hearing and they're dead wrong. $1 million. I hear this one a lot. How to retire with $1 million. Well, do you remember this guy from Austin Powers and he demands $1 million and everyone's like, $1 million? Are you kidding me? That's not a lot of money anymore. And that might not be enough for you. So no single number can work for everyone. I also hear to plan for 75% of your annual income. So if you make $100,000 yearly today, you only need to plan for 75,000 in your retirement. This is not nearly enough and it assumes a lot. First, that your house is paid off. And this may have been the norm for older generations, but will you have your home paid off by the time you retire? With the rate that home ownership has dropped, you might have to account for renting in these years as well. And it also doesn't take in account inflation, which we know is a huge deal. So, what happens when you're old? You generally need medical care. So don't forget that the money that you take out of your 401k will be taxed, and that can be a significant amount of money. Retired people are not exempt from life's obstacles, and unexpected expenses will pop up. So those of us who have been planning to live on 25% less than we are now, think again. Okay, how much do you need to retire? The short answer is 20 years of income. And if you just made this face like I did when I found out, I went into full panic mode. We were only on track to save about 50% of what we needed. And I thought I was so smart. So, like everyone else, I wasn't taught. And like most everyone else, we were not saving nearly enough. So, what would we have done if we had tried to retire and realized we couldn't? Imagine, what will you do? So, don't panic, get a calculator. We're going to take your yearly salary and we're going to multiply it by 20. And now you have your number. Is it what you thought you would need? How does that number make you feel? So, after I took a deep breath, I realized that 20 years of salary makes sense if you think about it. If you retire at 67, you want to live to at least 87. So, you're going to need 20 years of income. So now what? I mean, how can you possibly save that much? Well, here's the long answer: time. And that might not seem like a long answer, but it is. You really need time to take advantage of compound interest. You need years, and you may or may not have time on your side. So it's a good thing you're here to find out. So now, how much do you need to save every month to get there? First, go download a retirement calculator. Go to dianemacias.com and bookmark this site. Here's what it looks like now. And sometimes the pictures and text have been updated, but it's going to be similar to this. Here I have free education and a way for you to contact me and book a session. You can even buy my book. Go to free worksheets and to the retirement calculator. Here's what that looks like. All the instructions are at the top. So this might look like a lot, but I promise you I've made this super easy. Once you download it, you can play with the numbers and find out what you should be shooting for as a goal. Just fill in the white spaces with your information. Everything else will automatically calculate for you. So let's just run down the list. Starting age. Put in how old you are right now. This has you retiring at age 65. Maybe that's too young, or maybe you want to retire sooner. How old do you expect to live? If you have longevity in your family, maybe 90 is too young. Yearly income, and this will change as your career advances. So make sure that you update and keep track of what's happening in real life. Beginning investment. Now, if you have money already in retirement accounts, put this number here. And every year you should run your numbers with your actual balance. I have 6% in here as a rate of return, and 6% is a really safe conservative number. And that will help ensure that you save enough. So better to have more than you need than not enough. Don't put 15 or 20% in there and expect that it's going to give you an accurate number. Monthly contribution. So how much are you saving each and every month? So now in the shaded boxes, you can see some of the calculations, how much you're putting away each year. So this example is right at 15%. And notice that it gets you to 99% of your goal. So that's not bad. How much your minimum goal should be, what your estimated amount will be, and what your projected income will be. So this breaks down that 1.6 million into a number that makes more sense. Side hustle. So currently I've left this blank, but find something to fill it. Total projected monthly income. Again, not a guarantee of any sort. This is just a planning tool. And finally, how close are you to your goal? So this has a scenario too, and this can be used to see if what happens with your own retirement if you were to invest more or less, or if you start later, or you can use it for your partner. So remember, this is a tool for you to start planning. It's not a guarantee of any sort. You need to have a plan for anything to happen. In this example, I have the same person starting to save at age 40. To get roughly the same amount of income as the 25-year-old, they would have to save $2,300 per month. That's almost $1,500 more each month. And if they wait until age 40, it's over 42% of their income. And that's why time matters. I don't know anyone who could put away 42% of their income. This is why, if you're starting late or are behind, like we were, you need a side hustle. Side hustles will save you. So use this page to plan. If you need to work for a few more years, change your retirement age, change the amount you save per month. As you change your numbers, the columns here and here will change. This might seem impossible right now. Some of you might be saying, why bother? Or I'm just going to work until I die. But I'm here to tell you that is not a good plan. First of all, 50% of people retired before they planned to due to layoffs, caregiving responsibilities, or health issues. So you don't want to be someone's burden or have to eat cat food. Life is too short to live with financial stress. So, not to scare you, but if you don't have enough saved, fix it while you can. Procrastination will kill your dreams. And remember, financial stress is the number one cause for breakups. So don't add to the statistics. So have hope. What you do today can improve all of your tomorrows. I really love this quote. Don't put your future off. You will regret it. So what now? Make a plan. With what I showed you, you can make a plan. Save a copy of this worksheet and fill it in. See where you are and where you need to be. Find out how much you already have saved. Do you have old 401ks? Does your company match with 401k contributions? Don't leave free money on the table. If you're in a relationship, talk to your partner. Do they have old 401ks or other retirement plans? So work on your budget. How much can you put towards your retirement each month? Where can you cut back to make your goal? If you are like us and behind, you need to start contributing more right now. And last but not least, talk to me. Okay. Use these free worksheets from my website. Watch more financial videos like this one. Go to the calendar of events and find free in-person or online classes like Money 101, where you'll find out key money principles. This is the class that really got me on track with my retirement. Find a Wine Women and Wealth group. This is a networking group that works on money mindset, or a Money Mommy and Me class, which helps parents teach their kids about finances at any age. So right now, you have the capability to make all the difference in the world for yourself, for your family, and for the generations that come after you. So is that not the most impressive thing you could possibly do? I also have a business partner I work with who is an expert at setting up 401k alternatives that are seriously amazing. So we can help you with income for life plans, retirement with tax-free distributions, college savings plans, life insurance with living benefits that are all sorts of amazing. And this is why I became an advisor, to stop people stressing out over money. So you've got this. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Pinterest at Money Smart Mamas. You watch this today, which means this is on your mind. Ignorance is not bliss, and don't punish yourself for not knowing what you didn't before. So that's it. Now you know how much you need to save, and you've got me to help you get there. Again, my name is Diane Macias. I'm a finance counselor and author with Money Smart Mamas and an independent financial advisor with 5 Ranks Financial. So book a session with me at dianemacias.com so we can get to the bottom of your questions. I'll leave you there and talk to you soon. Have a great day.